So you guys already know that I had to make some sort of video like this, and we're going to be basically hitting on basically every single thing, in my opinion, that's wrong with the Samsung Galaxy S21. Now, I don't think the S21 is a horrible phone, and I'm also going to be talking about what everything is right about the Galaxy S21 extremely soon too, probably right after this video or the day after. So I kind of like the S21, but I was such a diehard fan of Samsung Galaxy S series. There were always things wrong with it, but this specific case with the S21, I just have to let out every single thing that I think is wrong with this device, and I think we're just gonna go and get started, man. I mean, the biggest problem with the Samsung Galaxy S21, in my opinion, is probably when you look at the S21 and you look at its predecessor, the S20, it just seems like a downgrade in so many different areas. I feel like the only thing you're really getting an upgraded is maybe the newer chipset, but it's not even that much faster. I've already compared the two. I've already done speed comparisons between them and everything, and it's only like slightly faster. Like, it's not really a crazy big difference that you may think. That's really the main thing that you're getting is the newer chipset. Other than that, every single other area is pretty much a downgrade except for software versions, which also kind of ties in with the chipset. Other than that, you're pretty much getting the same phone, in some ways a downgrade even more than that. So I've already clarified that the phone really isn't even that much faster. RAM management for my test on paper, everything, I found out it was pretty much the exact same thing. There really wasn't a big difference. They both have 8 gigabytes of RAM, so you're really not going to see that big of a difference when it comes down to the RAM management portion either. But also, comparing the S21 to its predecessor, which was the S20, which I thought was the best phone of last year, you're getting a plastic back on the Samsung Galaxy S21. Now, for a lot of people, that may not seem like a big deal, but you also have to consider the fact that Samsung decreased the price. I think that's awesome, but when you put a plastic back on this type of phone, you are watering down what the S lineup was supposed to be. The Galaxy S lineup was supposed to be that flagship, whatever Samsung had at the time, they would put it into a device, but they're following suit to exactly what they did with the Samsung Galaxy Note series. You look at the Note device lineup with the Note 9, that was a tremendous phone. Then they switched up with the Note 10, and then they switched up again with the Note 20, and now we're getting rumors that the Note lineup may actually not even, cease to exist anymore. And by that logic, Samsung is pretty much doing that same exact thing with the Galaxy S series as well, putting the plastic back and all these other things. And it starts with the plastic back. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, it starts with this. Next time they're going to remove something else, and next time they're going to put a smaller battery, and so on and so forth, and they're just cutting corners trying to get more profit. I like how they decreased the price $100, but I hate what they had to do in order to get to that specific point. And that plastic back, looking at the predecessor, the S21 and the S20, I mean, the S20 feels like a more flagship device for sure. Even though the S21 looks a bit better, that was something I was really not happy about with the S21. But also the cherry on top, they removed the microSD card slot support from the Samsung Galaxy S21. This in and of itself is probably one of the biggest problems with the whole entire Samsung Galaxy S lineup in 2021. And if they do make the Note lineup, it's going to be the biggest problem there too. I don't understand, because Samsung makes SD cards, so they had to remove that slot. This is another humongous problem with this device. When you look at the predecessor, the Samsung Galaxy S20, I think that phone was pretty close to perfect that Samsung, has ever made. I think probably the S10 at that time was like the perfect device, but the S20, 120 Hz, microSD card slot support, so much capability, glass on the back. We really did take advantage of what that phone, could have possibly been. It is such a good phone for sure. With the S21, they watered it down even more. They took out that microSD card slot. That was seriously something that was very, very insane to me, and that's probably the biggest problem with this phone. I can get by the plastic back kind of. I can get by with the performance a little bit. I wish it did have an increase in RAM or something, but I just can't believe they removed the microSD card slot. They did this with the Galaxy S6 back in the day, and now they did it again. That was seriously one of the biggest flops ever from Samsung, was the S6, even considering the Note 7, and the fact that they removed it here too just doesn't really make any sense. I really don't think people understand how weird that is. Now, on top of that, this is another kind of minor thing. They did lower the resolution from the Samsung Galaxy S20 to the S21, but the funny thing is, Samsung hasn't put a 1080p display on their main flagship Samsung Galaxy S device series since the Samsung Galaxy S5. The Galaxy S5 was the last device from Samsung's flagship besides the S10e, that's kind of more like the budget tier S lineup. Their main flagships, the S10, the S7, the S whatever. The Samsung Galaxy S5 was the last one to have that 1080p panel, and even the S5 had a pretty good panel. Obviously the Galaxy S21's panel is better than the S5's. It's a really good panel for sure, but just that thought process that it's a lower resolution panel, it just doesn't sit right with me. We should be increasing the resolutions, we should be increasing the battery size and everything. It's kind of like decreasing the battery size, you know. It's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. Maybe you can get some software optimizations and stuff, but it's never quite going to be, you know, past that mental state where it's like, oh, this battery life is better. Same thing with the display. You can say, you know, software optimizations are better for the display and still whatever, but still they decrease the resolution, and I'm not really a huge fan of that. And I think also the removal of the curved panel on the sides of the Galaxy S21 kind of does make it seem more like the Galaxy A series. Now I'll tell you this, with the Samsung Galaxy S20, the S10, I think ever since like the Galaxy S8, they've had curved panels on pretty much all the phones, you know, Galaxy S6 Edge and those devices, but I kind of like that. It is kind of annoying because when you hold it, it does kind of click random things, but it gives it such a unique feeling. Now with the S20 Ultra and the S21 Ultra, I think those are curved. I haven't gotten my uni yet, but I love that curvature. I think it, you know, separates it from their standard budget models and these phones. And if you're familiar with the Galaxy A series, those are Samsung's budget tier phones, and Samsung, like, these phones just feel too much like those Galaxy A series. They feel too much like that budget tier model, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I really don't like it. I wish Samsung didn't do it. And when I pick up my Galaxy S21, it feels like my Galaxy A71 or my Galaxy A51, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I think that's honestly very weird. So those are probably the bigger problems with the specific phone itself. Now my software with the One UI 3, I'm not a huge fan of One UI 3. I think a lot of you guys probably know this. I'm a huge fan of stock Android. I don't think Samsung's going to change this up anytime soon, but since I'm already complaining about this phone, I'm not a huge fan of the software. The life cycle and the longevity, I really appreciate Samsung increasing the longevity and the software life cycle of these phones. But again, I'm not a huge proponent and a huge activist when it comes down to this software. I think there's a lot of problems with it. I think it just looks kind of just weird. It kind of is starting to grow on me, but it still kind of feels like Samsung's like LG's UI. Like, it's very weird. I'm not a huge fan of it. But again, there's nothing we can really do about it. And I'll probably tell you this is one of those things that Samsung really needs to work on. And the final thing, and this isn't even the last problem, but the final thing I'll probably say for this video, because I'm complaining a lot, would probably be the fact that the max storage is only 256 gigabytes. I feel like in this day and age, 512 is like where you need to be at. I like how this thing starts at 128, but I don't like how this thing taps out at 256, and there's no micro SD card slot support. I think that in and of itself, again, is a pretty big problem. I wish it did have more capability there. I like how this thing has an extra version of, you know, variety, I guess. The Samsung Galaxy S20 only had one model, the 128 gig model. This one has two, 128 and 256, but the S20 had the micro SD card slot, so you can just get the one model and just keep expanding the storage. With this one, you can only be getting 256. You can get, you know, cloud storage and stuff, but it's not going to be quite the same. For sure, at the end of the day, the Samsung Galaxy S21 is a good phone, and I think for the price, it's, you know, okay. But for what Samsung did to this lineup, I don't think the S21 is that great of a phone right now. I just don't think it's worth the money. I think the Samsung Galaxy S20 is a killer price for that specific phone. The S20 was like pretty close to perfect in so many different areas, but this phone, I'm not really feeling it. Obviously, I'm going to recommend it, and you know, it's the newest Samsung phone. Luckily, there hasn't been any crazy problems besides some overheating problems people have had. Other than that, it's been a pretty stable phone. I like it for that aspect, but again, there were some areas which I didn't like that I kind of expressed throughout this video. So I'll be making a video probably to right now about everything that's right with the Samsung Galaxy S21. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly, everything else, every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.